Okay, Module 3, Careers in Psychology. If you major in psychology, you will graduate with a scientific mindset and awareness of basic principles of human behavior. This background will prepare you for success in many areas including business, the helping professions, health services, marketing, law, sales, and teaching. You may even go on to graduate school for specialized training to become a psychology professional. This module describes psychology's specialized subfields. Appendix D, preparing for future psychology studies, provides tips for preparing to earn a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree in psychology, with information about the career options that become available at those varying levels of education. If you are like most students, you will be unaware of the wide variety of specialties and work settings available in psychology. To date, the American Psychological Association, APA, has formed 56 divisions. Let's look at some of the basic research, applied research in helping profession careers. In the main specialty areas of psychology, most of which require a graduate degree in psychology. Basic research subfields. Cognitive psychologists study thought processes and focus such on topics as perception, language, attention, problem solving, memory, judgment, and decision making, forgetting, and intelligence. Research interests include designing computer-based modules of thought processes and identifying biological correlates of cognition. As a cognitive psychologist, you might work as a professor, industrial counselor, or human factors specialist in an educational or business setting. Developmental psychologists conduct a research on age-related behavior changes and apply their scientific knowledge to educational, childcare, policy, and related settings. As developmental psychologists, you would investigate change across a broad range from topics, including biological, psychological, cognitive, and social aspects of development. Development psychology informs a number of applied fields, including educational psychology, school psychology, child psychopathology, and gerontology. The field also informs the public policy in areas such as education and child care reform, maternal and child health, and the attachment and adoption. You would probably specialize in a specific stage of the lifespan, such as infancy, childhood, adolescence, or middle or late adulthood. Your work setting could be an educational institution, daycare center, youth group program, or senior center. Educational psychologists are interested in the psychological processes involved in learning. They study the relationship between learning and physical and social environments, and they develop strategies for enhancing the learning process. As an educational psychologist working in university's psychology department or school of education, you might conduct a basic research on topics related to learning or developed innovation methods of teaching to enhance the learning process. You might design effective tests including measures of aptitude and achievement. You might be employed by a school or a government agency or charged with designing and implementing effective employee training programs in a business setting. An experimental psychologists are a diverse group of scientists who investigate a variety of basic behavioral processes in humans and other animals. Prominent areas of experimental research include comparative methods of science, motivation, learning, thought, attention, memory, perception, and language. Most experimental psychologists identify with particular subfields such as cognitive psychology, depending on their interest and training. It is important to note that experimental research methods are not limited to the field of experimental psychology. Many other subfields rely on experimental methodology to conduct studies. As an experimental psychologist, you would most likely work in an academic setting, teaching courses and supervising students' research in addition to conducting your own research. Or you might be employed by a research institution, zoo, business, or government agency. Psychometric and quantitative psychologists study the methods and techniques used to acquire psychological knowledge. A psychometrician may update existing neurocognitive or personality tests to devise new tests for use in clinical and school settings or in a business and industry. These psychologists also administer, score, and interpret such tests. Quantitative psychologists collaborate with researchers to design, analyze, and interrupt the results of research programs. As a psychometric or quantitative psychologist, you will need to be well trained in research methods, statistics, and computer technology. You will most likely be employed by a university or college, testing company, private research firm, or government agency. A social psychologist are interested in our interactions with others. Social psychologists study how our beliefs, feelings, and behaviors are affected by and influenced by other people. They study topics such as attitudes, aggressions, prejudice, interpersonal reaction, group behavior, and leadership. As a social psychologist, you would probably be a college or a university faculty member. You might also work in organization consultation, market research, or other applied psychology fields, including social neuroscience. Some social psychologists work for hospitals, federal agencies, or business performing applied research. Applied research subfields. Forensic psychologists apply psychological principles to legal issues. They conduct research on interface of law and psychology to help create public policies related to mental health. Help law enforcement agencies in criminal investigations or consult on jury selection and deliberation process. They also provide assessment to assist the legal community. Although most forensic psychologists are clinical psychologists, they might have expertise in other areas of psychology, such as social or cognitive psychology. Some also hold law degrees. As forensic psychologists, you may work in a university psychology department, law school, research organization, community mental health agency, law enforcement agency, court, or correctional setting. Health psychologists are researchers and practitioners concerned with psychology's contribution to promoting health and preventing disease. As applied psychologists or clinicians, they may help individuals lead healthier lives by designing, conducting, and evaluating programs to stop smoking, lose weight, improve sleep, manage pain, prevent the spread of sexually transmitted infections, or treat psychosocial problems associated with chronic and terminal illnesses. As researchers and clinicians, they identify conditions and practices associated with health and illnesses to help create effective interventions in public service. Health psychologists study and work to improve government policies and healthcare systems. As health psychologists, you could be employed in a hospital, medical school, rehabilitation center, public health agency, college, or university. Or if you are a clinical psychologist in a private practice. Industrial organization psychologists. Study of the relationship between people in their working environments. They may develop new ways to increase productivity, improve personal selection, or promote job satisfaction in organizational settings. Their interests include organization, structure and change, consumer behavior, and personnel selection and training. As an IO psychologist, you might conduct workplace training or provide organizational analysis and development. You may find yourself working in business